You guys, I am so excited about the tutorial that we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making some beautifully molded terracotta baubles. Now, we used our lock and key molds and our trimmings mold, and all of the details for the supplies can be found in the description below. We are going to go ahead and get started, and the first step that we have is we are going to be casting our molds. One tip I want to mention on this is we actually use a little bit less in the mold and really kind of press it down in, and we don't fill the entire cavity, but you definitely want the detail of the casting. So as long as the bottom part is completely covered with the clay, and yet it's not, you can't see any of the cavity coming through the clay, that tells you it's thick enough, but you don't need to fill it completely to the rim like you would normally for that nice thick casting. This, we want a little bit of a thinner casting. Now, that being said, if that's complicating things for you and you're new to using molds, please don't worry about that. That is just kind of a little tip that makes the moldings not quite so bulky on the bauble, but you will still have a beautiful project if you completely fill those castings. And if you find that easier, then just go ahead and do that. So we are going to use the cornstarch, and we are going to dust lightly the cavities that we will be casting. Which cavity you use and which trimmings you use will be up to you. You can totally play around with these different ones. The combination of these two molds is beautiful and gives you a ton of different options. So have fun and get creative with these choices. We chose these ones. We just thought they would make some beautiful molds. We're making 3 different baubles. So we did 3 trimmings and 3 of the lock and key. All right, now we are going to take our air dry clay. A note on the air dry clay, make sure that you have a sandwich baggie nearby and that you keep any extra clay sealed in between your castings. So it will dry out quickly. It is air dry clay, so if it hits the air, it will dry. And it happens fairly quickly, so make sure that you take any extra clay, put it back in the sandwich baggie so that you can use it again. So I'm using the micro rim here to get that clean edge, but I'm also using my thumb to kind of clean out the middle and get that thinner casting like I mentioned. So you can fill it initially and then just use your thumb to kind of get out that extra clay. Do you see how nicely it comes out with all of this beautiful detail when you use that cornstarch? So just set that aside, and then you're going to do your next casting. Okay, a little note on these baubles. We will not be linking you to these ones because we did not love them. They're seamed in the middle. You have to put them together yourself. They're not ideal. They are nice and thick, but they don't come with the hanger. Maybe that's a benefit to you. We found it kind of tedious. You have to punch a hole and add your own hanger in. But the bigger thing was the seam. So we had to choose our castings and our arrangement to hide this seam, which was really inconvenient. And it really kind of took away some of our creative choices for these baubles. Nonetheless, we're going with it, but there are a lot of choices for these paper mache baubles that you can even use plastic baubles. They don't have to be paper mache. You can upcycle some baubles you find at the thrift store or some that you have left over as well. So you can see here, we have our casting laid down, face down. If you do it this way, please be careful and gentle for the detail of the casting. If you press too hard, you're going to mush that beautiful detail. But we were just very careful, and this just allowed us to kind of roll the seam and kind of wrap it up in and around, which was kind of a nice thing. Now we're going to wrap it around, and then it does come in close. So when we pull in the lock and keys casting, we're going to cut an area to fit that in. We're just pressing in gently, and so that all of the casting adheres to the ornament, making very sure that there's no gaps. Now, air dry clay, it does have a certain amount of moisture in it, and as it dries, it will pull and it will sometimes crack. That is the nature and the character of the clay, and it's part of the beauty as well. We love that and we work with it, but there are ways to minimize that if you would like. So check out our Moulds 101 video for more on that. So I am just cutting an area here. I say actually it's Sarah, and this is Sally doing the voiceover. So Sarah has very sweetly offered to do this. Well, she didn't offer. I asked her and she said yes to do this video for us. So I was with her and know the steps very well. So I am doing the voiceover. So look at how beautiful that fits in there. You guys are going to love making these ornaments. You're going to want to make a million of them. They are so fun. And doing them assembly line is a great way to do them. These ornament blanks come in large bulk quantities, and you can just go to town and make a ton of these. Okay, here we go. And if you do that, just cast the entire mold. You can just cast the clay into all of the cavities at once so that you can make tons of different ornaments. Okay, and then you just kind of gently put it together. Look how beautifully that fits. I just love it. Okay, so you'll just set that aside and you will do the same thing to the other ornaments as well. I really hope you guys try this because I really want to see what different combinations you come up with. You can use any mold. If you are more of a farmhouse gal or guy and you want to make these and you want to use maybe our farm animals, that would be a super fun one to use. The butterflies would make a beautiful kind of woodland themed tree ornament. There are so many different options that you can use with this tutorial, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. Okay, now we have let these dry just a bit. It'll depend on your conditions in terms of how long you let it dry to get a little bit of a crust. The crust is going to kind of protect that detail on the mold, but you can also use a chip brush when you're painting so that it's a softer paint on the mold. I apologize, we're kind of off camera here, but we will show some of the painting on camera as well. But you just paint that mold all the way in, and you're going to want to make sure that you get into the cracks and crevices of the moldings. There we go. And the seams as well, where the mold meets the bauble, you're going to want to get in there really good as well. Look at this beautiful terracotta color. We're not stating which paint brand we are using or specific colors, and the reason for that is that we know that you guys shop at different stockists and they carry different paint brands, so we're being more generic with the colors because every paint brand will have an orange, a red, and a brown, and your stockist will also carry different colors in terms of maybe they have a terracotta straight up that you can go to and not have to mix. So talk to your stockist about how to get the best terracotta color for the paint brand, sorry about that, that they carry. But again, we are using about a quarter orange, a quarter red, and half brown to get this beautiful terracotta color, and we were very pleased with it. Okay, you are going to just repeat that with each ornament. Make sure you're covering very well. You might need a couple coats. It just depends on how thick that you go on. So just make sure you take a look after each coat and check for spots that have come through. It's not a big deal if you miss a spot, right? Because we're going to be white waxing these later too. So it will blend. So don't stress too much if you didn't get full coverage when you go to do your next step. All right, we are going to set all of these aside to dry. And again, depending on your conditions, that will be a different amount of time. But for us, these dried fairly quickly and we were ready to keep going in about 30 minutes. So set those aside and then we will get on to our next step. Okay, we are going to go ahead and do our white wax. Our molded baubles are all dry and we are using a soft wax brush to gently use a layer of white wax. We are generous, but then we buff it off and you can see how it just pops that detail because it's lightening the top surface and that terracotta color is really in the crevices of the detail of the mold. It really gives it an aged terracotta look, which we absolutely love and really sets these ornaments apart. Okay, you guys, that is it. We have really enjoyed this tutorial. And again, we can't wait to see what you do with the different mold options and the different bauble options. So have fun with this one, and you guys have a very Merry Christmas.